This is Reframe, the podcast from the College of Education, Health, and Society on the campus of Miami University. In this episode, we explore the possibilities of a philosophical concept called Eudaimonia and how it could potentially hold the key to greater health and well-being for almost everyone. The idea seems simple enough, almost obvious really, and yet it might help ignite what's been called the third revolution of health and wellness. Or even, says EHS professor of kinesiology Kimiecik, it might even be more like the fourth. But this idea, which centers on something called eudaimonia, is not entirely new.
It's kind of based on Aristotle's idea of humans, so it goes back a long way. And this isn't necessarily new per se, but applying it to health, I think, is where the cutting edge is going.
For those who have already experienced its positive side effects, eudaimonia is not a hard sell. But for many, it could represent a kind of paradigm shift or sea change, and even necessitate a resistance to a number of deeply embedded cultural norms. It's pretty well established that to be healthy, people should stay active, not smoke, eat nutritious foods, get quality sleep, have fulfilling relationships, and so on. And it's true, again and again, data shows that these behaviors can prevent disease, reduce health risks, and improve well-being. But the problem is that most health and wellness plans, those that require a kind of lifestyle change like a workout regimen or a diet, for example, do not work very well for most people, especially over the long term. Academic literature shows that most programs only produce short-term success or a bump up, followed by a regression back to baseline when the intervention ends.
And this is true for physical activity, eating. It's a general trend.
And this trend applies to people of all ages, too. And it's not only confined to the arcane findings of academic research either. Anyone who has ever tried to diet or known someone who has can likely relate to this yo-yo effect on some level. But why? What's missing?
The majority of the work in exercise psychology has been on, and it's good work, if you exercise regularly, you will feel better about yourself. You will have enhanced self-esteem, you will have enhanced feelings of competence, you will have heightened emotionality, right? So if you do that behavior, you will get these things. Okay, so why aren't people doing that?
The reason, according to Kimiecik, is that most weight loss plans and workout regimens and most health advice in general comes from expert-driven biomedical models that prioritize prescriptive-based interventions that focus almost exclusively on the behaviors that people should either start doing or stop doing.
It starts with information and rationalization, but the whole paradigm of health or health behavior change is misguided. And again, I'm not demeaning the research or the work by some very, very good researchers, right, discovering lots of things, but it's in the implementation that we fall short.
So, just focusing on the behaviors alone is not enough. In fact, this approach may be missing the most important part of the whole story.
Well, what's missing is the person. What's missing is the totality of the person, the holistic beings that we are, the psychological, the physical, the social. All of that integrates into one to make you a human being.
Which brings us back to eudaimonia, and the premise is simple. Eudaimonia suggests that when people find and follow their true selves, or purpose for being, they tend to naturally live more fulfilling, meaningful, and healthier, happier lives. Kimiecik calls this finding the inner imperative that unlocks the innate potentialities that lie within us all, and it's this authentic self-expression that leads directly to optimal human functioning. In less academic speak, it basically means follow your heart. We already tend to hear this idea a lot in various forms. It's at the center of the hero's journey in many books and movies. People express it repeatedly when trying to find the right career. And in addition to having direct ties back to Aristotle, it also relates to Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs and the psychological notions of self-actualization. So the idea is not new, but applying it to health and fitness is. The idea is that when people start living the lives they truly wish to live, when they find their reason for being, when they express themselves in ways that just feel right or that align with their own inner imperative, they tend to flourish in many ways. And Kimiecik's research shows that it actually works. In one study, he designed an 8-week program called the Well-Being Way, which encouraged a group of Miami University employees to connect with a variety of eudaimonic concepts, including personal growth, subjective vitality, self-determination, and life engagement. They participated in activities and discussions and group sessions, which were all designed to help each participant identify and tap into their own individual notions of what a well-lived and rewarding life meant to them. And after the program, the participants showed significant increases in both psychological well-being and physical activity levels. Furthermore, those who reported experiencing the greatest increases in life engagement also experienced the biggest boosts in physical activity.
But it wasn't a program designed to help them become more physically active. And the data kind of shows that. Why were they able to do this? Because in some simple way, they began to feel better about who they were. Maybe they discovered and uncovered some things about being well that led to a bump up in vitality.
He also found similar results after introducing the Well-Being Way to a group of 9th graders during a local high school enrichment program.
When we did that, we didn't come in and say, hey, we're here to make you more active. We're here to change your eating patterns. No, we just said, we're here for you. We feel this is important time to kind of have some opportunities to discover yourselves with your peers and so forth. And we did pre and post and found afterwards that the kids who had more of this autonomy that was created through the experience, they were the ones who became more physically active and who ate more greens and didn't drink as much pop. These kinds of things.
Kimiecik has also written several books on the subject to help people explore this concept from different angles. His book, The Intrinsic Exerciser, explains how the joy and flow that can be found in exercise is much more important than focusing on the health benefits alone. Runner as Hero is an autoethnography, and it accounts Kimiecik's own journey to become a master runner as a case study. More recently, his newest book, Losing Weight in 6 Days, is a novel that tells the story of Anne, who finally discovers a way to change her life after 20 years of unsuccessful weight loss attempts. Each book, he says, is an attempt to try and create stories that might get people interested, because after they develop these deeper internal connections, they often experience boosts in vitality that help them cope with stress and get better sleep. They tend to start socializing more, they become more physically active, and even start eating better. All of these healthier behaviors become a naturally occurring byproduct of eudaimonia. But there's a reason why it may not be as easy as it sounds. Many barriers still exist. For eudaimonia to be effective, people must take a much more active role in the process and in their own lives to figure out who they really are, what they really want, and how they really want to live. But this act of looking deep within, this highly individualized pursuit of purpose and meaning, is not necessarily prioritized in our society today. Yes, the idea of following your heart sounds nice, and we do hear it a lot, but it's usually expressed as nothing more than a cliche. The truth is that the vast majority of our contemporary cultural and social institutions are set up in a way that stops most people from conducting this type of ongoing self-exploration. Far more often, institutions like school systems and places of employment, for example, are riddled with standardizations and constrictions, with rules and regulations that stifle self-exploration and self-expression. Most aspects of life are driven by the goals of a powerful and materialistic market-based society that pushes consumable products and services as the quick and easy solution to most problems. In short, our culture simply does not care enough about this.
To me, this is the major challenge of the 21st century.
And the challenge is tremendous.
Because there's no infrastructure in place. There's no place for people to go to work on these things, in my humble opinion. So, if the systems aren't in place to support you, guess what? You stay on the path.
These paths, and the paths that others so often create for us, they come in many forms, such as self-help books, or as similar kinds of expert-driven advice, or as standardized, prescriptive plans that undermine the autonomy and individualism that a true eudaimonic experience needs. So, in a way, this is a story about revolution and resistance, and in more ways than one. If the first health-based revolution was around disease treatment, then the second, of which we are now in the midst, is about disease prevention. But Kimiecik would have us battle against dominant paradigms to push ahead even further still. But first, people need to understand that many established cultural norms and social systems may be working against them in subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways. Then, they must also do the hard soul-searching work of actively finding their own inner imperatives for living and being, even if the idea does sound a bit idealistic at first, or even a little bohemian to some.
You mean to tell me the reason I haven't been successful in being physically active, or I haven't been successful in kind of changing the way I eat, or I haven't been successful in getting the sleep that I want, you're telling me that I haven't been able to do those things because I'm not living out my inner imperative? Yes, that's exactly why.